So just for the beginning, for the camera, do you want to just state your name and where you did your internships, what your major was?
My name is John Russell. I got a degree from the Humanities College at BYU in classical studies. I did 4 internships while I was at BYU. The first one was with a healthcare consulting firm where I worked in the corporate accounting office working as an internal auditor. The second internship was with an investment firm where I valued companies and made pitches to investors. The third internship was with the European Parliament in Brussels, Belgium, where I worked as a political analyst. And my fourth internship was with was with a global firm, global financial firm, and that was my fourth internship.
Perfect.
Shoot, I shouldn't have said that last part. I messed up. My bad.
It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, and we won't use anything against you. That's
Okay.
mostly for us, our record, when we load the files.
And we're like, who's this
what
again?
Was his name again?
What did he do?
Sure.
And where did he go? Yeah. So we always put the good meaty stuff at the beginning, just for our memory.
Got it.
Okay, so maybe you want to tell us a little bit more about your time abroad in Brussels. Just simply, you know, my internship at Brussels, I had the opportunity to do this, this, and this, or something like that.
Sure.
Some of the tasks they gave you.
Okay. Well, I did an internship in Brussels, Belgium, working for the European Parliament. I worked specifically with a member of Parliament from Ireland. It was election time as well, so I spent a few weeks in Brussels, but at the same time I went over to Ireland for about 2 months and campaigning, which was a blast because as an American, being in Ireland, knocking on doors, people just kind of, they're kind of curious about that. At the same time, they want to talk to you as well. And at the same time of campaign, I did a lot of research with regard to political and public policy issues in Europe. I focused primarily on the economic crisis that was erupting throughout the world. I focused on terrorist organizations in Africa as well as in the Middle East. And I focused on just a lot of good research that I could write documents and memos to present to other diplomats who worked at the European Parliament. It was a fantastic experience because it allowed me to understand my writing skills, allowed me to branch out and recognize that there's more out in this world than what we have here in the U.S. It gave me a different perspective of different cultures and different languages, and it was a blast to be around that environment.
Great. So it sounds like you got a lot out of your internship. What do you think you value most from your internship?
You're referring to the one that's in the European Parliament, just all
Yeah.
Okay.
What's something you value most being in Brussels and Ireland and your time there outside of the U.S.?
Probably the biggest thing that I value the most working for the European Parliament and being in Europe was just the perspective of being around different cultures. It really gives a different take on life and just makes you understand that the world is bigger than it really is. And being able to work with people from Germany, people from Holland, people from Ireland, and on very similar issues, but just kind of seeing how everyone has a different take on that. It really just made you understand that there are differences between cultures, and it helps you understand the need to mitigate between those groups and to understand how you can work with them in a better way.
Awesome. So were you able to get a job right after graduation then?
My fourth internship with a global financial firm, it was a 10-week internship, and I worked well enough and hard enough that they actually gave me an offer to come back after I graduated. And so September of my senior year, I received an offer from them, and I decided to go ahead and take the offer. So for me, aside from, I didn't do a whole lot of reaching out to other companies, other groups to interview, but I was lucky enough and blessed enough to receive an offer pretty quick after my internship, and so that's where I went with.
Awesome. Would you say that without your internship, you probably wouldn't have gotten this job straight after graduation, or do you think it made it easier in getting a job?
Getting internships I think is critical. If that is what you want to do in life, I think it's essential to understand, if you're a humanities student, to understand kind of where you want to go in the next couple of years after you graduate. Some students aren't really interested in business, but having experience like an internship is critical to help you understand what it is that you want to do. I mean, you could do an internship with a company and realize this really isn't for you, but you've had that experience. It's something you could put on your resume. But for me, doing the internships that I did while I was at BYU kind of solidified, what I want to do in my life and helped me understand, what I want to pursue, not just a year or two after I graduate, but 5, 10 years after I graduate. And so by doing an internship, it definitely helps me greatly to get a job right after I graduate and not have to deal with the hassle of interviewing with multiple companies and just being stressed out in that sense.
That's great. Having had the internship experiences that you've had, would you say that it's crucial for a humanities student to have an internship in today's world when it's tough to get a job? You consider that this is very much a global marketplace. It's not just, all local. Do you think that in today's world it is crucial for humanities students to have an internship?
Yeah, I definitely believe that receiving or gaining an internship is critical to getting a good job after you graduate, because it allows you to gain great experience, allows you to see different perspectives on jobs and culture and working, which is very different as opposed to being at school. But getting an internship, I think, is essential. I mean, there's multiple studies out there that solidify the fact that getting an internship or having an internship while in college just kind of compounds the likelihood that you're going to get a good job after you graduate versus someone who just kind of goes through college without getting an internship. I think by getting an internship, you market yourself better as well. Companies are more interested in talking to you, kind of learning about what you did at your internship, even if it's not the same kind of industry or field, but they're interested in learning about you and learning about why you did what you did. And I think that's why it's one of the reasons why it's critical to have an internship while you're in school.
Great. And let's see, I just lost my train of thought. Now, when you went to when you went abroad, did you receive it? I know you said you worked with the Kennedy Center. You knew your options as far as maybe finding funding. Did you have any? Were you one of those that was able to get a scholarship or some sort of funding to help you do that internship abroad?
I actually didn't receive any funding from BYU, or I didn't have any scholarships. I applied, didn't get anything, and so I for my internship abroad, I kind of saved up as much money as I could, and thankfully my parents were there to help me out where it was needed. So I kind of lived very frugally when I was in Europe, which is not an easy place to live frugally. But I definitely would have appreciated some kind of financial aid in that sense, because it would allow me to, I guess, focus more on the work as opposed to making sure I had enough money and preparing correctly for my internship. But having the internship, I don't regret it. I don't regret the money that I put forth on my own to do it, because it was a valuable experience. It's something that has helped me be where I am right now.
Awesome, good job. What would you say is the biggest deterrent for, I mean, from what I've heard, speaking with Scott and Dave and Professor Bush and everyone, there's plenty of opportunity for these internships out there, but it doesn't seem like very many students take advantage of that opportunity. What do you think is the biggest thing that holds students back from doing an internship?
I think there's a few things I think that deter students from doing a study abroad or an internship, from doing an internship abroad. I think one is financial. A lot of students just don't have the money to go abroad. It's more expensive, especially if you go to Europe or some of the maybe over some of the more developed Asian countries. But it is a detriment to a lot of students when it comes to financial aid. I think the other thing is that students don't take the time beforehand to do the necessary research that they'll be able to, for example, for me, I learned about the European Parliament internship probably about a year and a half before I applied. And so I spent a good 6 months before I applied to study and research. I went and talked to advisors. I went and spoke with anyone and everyone who did the internship and just try to get a good perspective. I think a lot of students don't put in that effort to understand what they potentially could be getting themselves into. And so I think without that due diligence, without the financial aid, I think those are some of the reasons what deters students from doing internships abroad.
Okay, as a humanities student, this is kind of a mix of things that we've already talked about, but as a humanities student in particular, what was one of the greatest things about actually being in Brussels, or actually being abroad, or working for the Parliament, sorry, as a